is like music, with God being the composer, and He has made this beautiful musical composition. And myself, you, and everyone has his or our own composition to play along with the melodies, the harmonies, and everything to go along with it. But sometimes certain things just begin to feel off, and it's that moment where certain questions begin to pop out. And for some, it's that they're just going on and on, but there's something inside of them that still knows that something is just off. Or take a look at this scenario. I've been into places. I'm sure that someone out there must have been in one of these spaces where you just go to enjoy live music. But yes, everything looks like it's going well. But then you can definitely know that a particular instrument or something or one singer somewhere is just doing something that makes the music feel off, even though everything can then feel right. And it's on that premise that we are here tonight to really examine, to really share and draw from one another. It's not one of those nights where we get to come and talk at you, say this is what you have to do, but to simply share our stories. I'm sure you must have found yourself in one point at one point or other in your life where certain things just begin to fall off. You just knew that something was not right, and for some it's that everything looks all right, but deep down you also know that there's something inside of you that is not just right. And then you get to wonder why this kind of conversation for the beginning of the year. But then it's for all of us to realign. That's the whole point of everything, to help one another find realignment. At what point did the music begin to go off? At what point did this sort of misalignment begin to go off? And we see music is beautiful. Different things. Thankfully, I'm a practicing sort of musician. I won't say I'm practicing fully, but you see, when you get to work music, you get to find that there's different parts to it. But then the whole idea is for us tonight and in the coming weeks, for every one of us to find that alignment, to go back to that realignment. For me, I need it, and I'm going to be sharing my story. Is my life out of tune? I think to a certain extent. And I'm hoping that this week myself, I will find stories. I will find stories and I will be encouraged, and I will find that realignment myself. So this is not that kind of conversation where there's this person who is just perfect. There's this, he has gone through it all, he's perfect. No, we're just going to be vulnerable to ourselves. And if you have questions, please do note that you can share your questions. If you have stories to share, please do note that you are welcome. We are receiving questions, and I'm sure that tonight is going to be awesome. Yes, still talking about that point. If you ask me, out of tune, I recall sometime around last year. And the beautiful thing about life is that as individuals, we all have a sort of facade, something inside of us, something that we do that can help us create a facade to say, no, everything is going well, everything is fine, and all of that. But deep down, when we in our little closet at home, when we get home, we now know that some things are not just right. So, for example, I got to a point last year where everything felt like I was on autopilot. Nothing to look forward to. Really, this is like real story. It just felt as though nothing to look forward to. I was just in the regular cycle of things. Just the regular cycle. The regular cycle. Wake up, clean the house, find some good clothes to wear to work, go to work, and then do the regular. But even at work, there was this thing that that there's something that could be more. For me, it was like that there could be more, but I just couldn't find it. But thankfully for prayers, if you ask me, and I think that's a good place to start. Some things just gets revealed for you. And of course, my guest, of course, that I'm definitely not alone. And part of my manners, Happy New Year. Man, Happy New Year. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to talk about tonight. That's why I had to start on that note. But hey, Happy New Year to you. I hope that January is going well. Hope that work is fine. Hope for school children, for parents, and taking their children to school. Hope it's not a tedious. Hope you are finding your rhythm. And yes, tonight, like I said, we're going to be having that conversation. Like I said, it's not something that we're going to be talking at you. It's something that everyone is on board. We're sharing our stories, and my guest is seated comfortably, looking handsome, looking cute, looking fresh, looking dope, looking great, looking at me like, what's this guy saying? Where's this all coming from? Please, let's celebrate Mr. Ayola Palola. Good evening.
Good evening.
How was your day?
My day has been good.
How's January so far?
Oh, wow, January is awesome. I'm refreshed.
Oh, great.
I feel so refreshed. It's been an enormous 2025, and I just feel like, well, this is an opportunity for a fresh start. So,
oh, great. One of the things that I've come to admire about you as an individual, and you may just be hearing this for the first time, is that you're never shy of telling your story. You're never shy of telling your story. Because I can recall several times where you've had to make reference to certain parts of your journey in certain conversations, and I think that's a good atmosphere to begin with. To say, let's start with the beginning. When you were young, what did it feel like growing up as a young child into teenagehood?
Well, let me comment on what you said. I feel like I agree with you that I have come to a point in my life where I am not ashamed. There's a lot that is part of me that I feel like it's a blessing to be me. So I feel like I can share because my life is a story that I'm not ashamed of. There's been a lot of lows, there's been a lot of highs, and even right now I feel like there's still a lot more that I still need to share. Like I'm still reserved, and
okay.
I feel like there's a lot more to pour at the right time. So looking back at my childhood, there's been a lot of things that happened in my childhood. In fact, today, and that is what usually spur what I share about, because I feel like, well, if people see you today, they do not know your story. And that is one of the things I tell if I have an opportunity to talk to young people. I'm like, if you have a scar, if you're going through anything now, a time is coming that somebody will look at you. If you don't tell them that story, they will never believe you have gone through that thing. Like you want to have, you have struggle in school. I'm someone that I used to, I had struggle when I was in university, and I would tell the story, and I'm like, you would never know that this guy at the point in time used to be like this, and it became a point of motivation for people that are going through what I went through then. I recall I used to have a friend when I was having struggle in school. This friend was helping me at my lowest point. And fast forward to about maybe 1 or 2 years after, I had to also help him go through the trouble. And even till last year, I had a cousin that was going through trouble in school. So looking back at growing up, I recall maybe at 4 or 5, maybe at around 4, maybe around 94, 95, 1994 or 1995 was when I got my first prayer answered. Like the year 4, and I could recall that, okay, back then I wanted to sell. We used to make toys from, we would cut can of tin, maybe tin milk, tin insecticide, and then we'll use it to make toy cars. Then, in our neighborhood then. So then we graduated from making those making those toys to play to making it to sell. Like we will sell to our people around. And then I'm like, I want to. And I used to follow my mom to church. We used to pray. I've learned about prayer, and then prayers can get answered. And then that day, I just pray to God that God, I want to sell. And then I sold, because I remember there was a day I made 1 naira 50 kobo. It's a lot of money back then, at least for a young person like me. It's like somebody 4 or 5 year old making like 200 naira today.
Wow.
Like, wow, 200 naira, you can buy a lot of biscuits, you can buy a lot of sweets, it was 1 naira 50 kobo then was a lot of money. So I could also, as a young boy born into a Christian family, going to church, I could see things, the churches we used to go then, the prayers, it was one prayer meeting we went to then, back then in Ibadan. I think probably we were in April or June. That season, it would be around maybe 95 to 1995, 94, 95. There was no rain in Ibadan up to around June. And then I went to a prayer meeting, just a regular pastor then came. I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. How would there not be rain in Ibadan? Like, he said he wants that we should pray for rain. And then as we were praying, I felt rain. Like rain actually began. He did not, and he waited for us to get home. And he poured that night, like rain fell. I'm like, how can somebody be, how can you be this in tune? Like, people with like, it's more like when you, it used to amaze me then, and growing up again. So I have a lot of stories. Actually, there's a writing I'm working on now, talking about why I believe in prayer.
Oh, wow.
I do not just believe, my belief in prayer is not something that just came from, let's say, when I grew up. It started from when I was young. Like I've witnessed answered prayers a lot of times. Like the ones that you cannot refuse. That no, this is prayer answered. And I've been thinking about them and documenting them, and then trying to see how I can bring it out as a text. So my childhood, there's a lot of things, and that's why this topic is your life adulting, is something that I've been reflecting on, because if you grow old, not as old as maybe Pastor or Dr. Aditbola, but at least maybe you are now at 30 something and you are feeling really old, you are supposed to have gotten to a point where you understand yourself. You know when things are going for you, you know when things are not. And you should understand the rhythm of your life. That's okay. For example, 2025 was really like it was a year of rest for me. I did not really make much progress with business in 2025, but I just thought like, well, it happens like that, I was not bothered, even when money is not, does not, I know like it happens, you can have like 6 months, 1 year of rest. I just like, let me just use this time to calm my brain down and rest. I don't have to worry, because 1 week or 2 weeks can cover up for the whole 1 year. So I understand the reading, and I believe everyone should, by the time you should get to a point in your life where you understand the rhythm of your life. You know that, so it helps to, you don't get pushed here, this is happening. You have some kind of peace of mind. It also helps you to plan for your future. With God, you already understand how God works with you. You already understand how things happen for you. You already understand the things that you need to, So basically, I hope I've answered the question for you.
And so, thankfully, you made mention of finding your rhythm. Everyone should find their rhythm. But everyone, okay, let me put it like this. Everyone will not be the same. For some, they can find it early. For some, it's that even after 40, they've not find it. They've not been able to find it. So the question is now, and thankfully that also helps you to helps one to track when things are off, right?
Right.
So let's go back to the basics again. This reading that you're saying, what is it all about?
Okay.
And how can anyone find their own rhythm?
Everyone's life is more like a story. If you look at the life of Jesus, the way in the book of John or the book of Luke or Matthew, the way they narrated everything, starting from how, one, is it John that started with genealogy, talking about how he came, and then talking about the word came, it became flesh, and then they started talking about, okay, how he was born, how he grew up in knowledge and wisdom and blah, 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 and then he came, and then, up to his death, and then up to the activities after he was risen and all that. A beautiful story. Of course, a story sometimes will come with there's tragic moments in your story. There are moments where it looks as if nothing is happening in your story. There are moments where it looks like, wow, this is power. The dead is risen, the leper was cleansed, the lame is walking. Your life is, that's the peak of your life. And then there's a tragic point. So we should see our life as, we should not see our life as if we are an actor in a normal movie. We're actually an actor in our own scripts, but we are not the actor in the normal movie. Like, it must be in this particular way. For the movie to be sweet, to be cinema, for the cinematography to, it must be in. That's why even in real life stories, sometimes they have to add some adjustment to it to make it well. But in the real life thing, it doesn't. Now, to go to your question that talks about what is the redeem. The redeem, and you mentioned that sometimes some people have not found it. Actually, if anyone that would sit down and look back in their life and honestly assess how things has been going from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4, the same way you will read the life of Joseph, you will understand the rhythm of how things were working for him. And then you will read Daniel. You know how things, the Joseph's own is all about dreams, this, dream, that. Daniel's own is, his life is different. It's talk about excellence, is how he's doing what he's doing, his work with God, how he took God seriously. His life was going in that. Everything he would be is dependent on the core thing of his life. Okay, this is what has been working for me. This is what I've been doing. This is how things, And then, so the same way, if you look at your life and then you study it carefully, and studying carefully is not something you study as if you are studying for chemistry or biology. It's more like reflecting on one's life. The things that has happened when you were younger, how things, even before you know God, how your life had been. Because before you became born again, God, the Bible says, I've known you even from the womb. Like God has been following you. God has been ordering your step. God has been, everything that happened to you today, that happened to you before today, happened so that what is happening now can happen to you. So one should be able to assess his life, look at, okay, this is where I am. And then, and I'm saying this because that is how I found my own reading.
Because that was the next question for me to see, for you as an individual, when and how were you able, when did you stop to say, I have to find something that works for me? And of course, another thing also is that I think they say life is not linear. That it's not like a straightforward that you can say this is what is working. Always there's always those moments, where things are looking like, okay, I've tried this, it's working, but all of a sudden it looks as though it's not working.
Well, you're right. Life is not linear. What works for one may not work for two. I was talking about the life of Joseph, which is different from the life of Daniel, different from the life of Nehemiah, different from the life of, let's say, somebody like Elisha. Those live different lives now. Even talking about Abraham and Jesus, and now for me, how everything just summed up to a particular moment. There was the moment I told myself, it just dawned on me that, and when I say this, I normally do not say it to be proud or anything. I said then, and then some people might pick, probably it was pride that I was speaking, but it was knowledge of self that was speaking.
Knowledge of self.
I cannot be poor. It just dawned on me. I'm like, okay, even if I wake up and I decide that I want to be cutting firewood, like Mufe Mashe guitar. I would cut firewood, I would sell it, and I would be like the best person that would has ever done it, and I would be successful doing it. Now, it got to a moment where I understood myself. Now, my growing up, there were a lot of phases in my growing up. I mentioned that I struggled in my university days, but prior to then, I never really struggled. I'm like the child that they will tell every other person, go and face your book, go and read your book. They never tell me because I never needed to read. That's the kind of person that I was growing up. That I really didn't need to do much and then it got to a point where I began struggling with my education and all that. And
So sorry, when you say you're struggling with your education, what happened? Was it that you were not remembering things?
long story short, I was not a serious student.
Okay.
Long story short, I was not a serious. Now, this also talks about understanding oneself. Now, I was the person, in quotes, the person that can say, "I is a brilliant student," right? When I was younger, but then you can only be brilliant in the things that you study or the things that you are exposed to. What you don't know, if you didn't do, you didn't do. If you know, so back then when I was in school, I did not actually need to pick up my books and read and study. If I'm in your class, you teach, I would get it. And there is nowhere you want to come and set that examination. If I was in that class when you said it, I cannot fail. There were courses that even back then when I was struggling, I never struggled with them. Like I did not, things like English language, I do not even need to go to the class, but I would score A. Physics, I was still top of the class. Structures, I would still be like, I will have B, even if I did not study. But the courses that require for you to be in the class, like there was a course I carried 4 times.
Wow.
Those courses, if you miss 2 classes, there will be like 7 classes in a semester. If you miss 2 of it, you have failed.
Are you serious?
Yes. So those was, I'll carry like 3-4 times. So, I mean, basically, I struggled in school because I was not serious. There is no two things about like I would miss classes, I would do, and
sorry again. What caused that unseriousness? Where did you think it came from?
Okay. There were a lot of factors, right? And I was unserious because I was admitted to a course that I did not like.
Oh, okay.
I was admitted to architecture.
Oh, really?
Never really. I studied architecture in school actually, and I never really wanted to study architecture. From one point to another in my life, when I was younger, I wanted to be an electrical engineer. And that day, we were discussing my siblings, and then my eldest sibling said, you want to be an electrical engineer, you'll be working in NEPA. Nobody wanted to work in NEPA. So eventually that dream just died a natural death that day. I don't want to work, I don't want to do electrical engineer, I don't want to work in NEPA. I'm talking about 3-4-year-old people just discussing. And then I knew I wanted to be an electrical, because I really like how electrical electronics, how things were. Then later I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. Then you'll be like, you become a mechanic. I'm like, I don't want to be a mechanical. And later on, let's say I want to be a civil engineer. And at a point, I became confused. And it got to a point that, JAMB, they will give you any course you like, right? So I never picked architecture. I was just giving, and I thought I would cross, and then it dawned on me that it is never possible to cross, that I would study, and I'm like, what do I want to do?
Stuck.
Yeah, I became stuck. So mentally, I could not process myself becoming an architect, and that was actually where the struggle began. And because in my first year, I aced some, I'm telling you, there were courses that I had A. I did not, courses I did not attend the class at all. MTS, mathematics, I did not attend the class at all. I had a B in it. The GNS, English, language of English, I did not attend the class at all. I had A in it.
Wow.
Physics, I did not attend the class at all. I had A in it. There are courses like that. I would pass. But then, architecture, drawing, I will now score E in it. And I'll be like, God. And I hate when you are a fish, and then they said go and be flying. That is how it was, because I could not display my brilliance in architecture. I could not display it because I was, people would draw and it would be fine. Me, I would draw. You will know that it's not fine. And then I would draw, and what used to amaze me, how people would draw, their paper would be white and clean, and my hand would dirty the paper. And I'd be like, what kind of life is this? So I was discouraged. I never knew that I could make it in acting. I got to a point, I'm like, I would change. I would even drop out of school. I made up my mind I was going to drop out of school. I collected a form to study in the UK, University of Plymouth. I already collected the form. I probably already paid I did not tell my parents, actually.
Wow.
Because they did not know I was struggling in school. So
you were not serious with...
I was not serious. I was struggling because I was not serious. And I was not serious because of what I just mentioned. It's because mentally I could not process it, because everybody hates failure. I cannot perform in this kind of... But something happened after I tried to drop out of school, and I'm like, I'm going to go to a school in the UK and study economics. I know economics, I will ace this course, like I'm going to do well here. So, and then it dawned on me, I want to quit. What do I know? Okay, I'm struggling now. It might be the work of the devil. Who knows what is going to come in front of me in this one? It may not be I'm struggling. Maybe it's money that is going to be a stumbling block later, and then I will drop out again. I'm like, okay, I now decided. I did a meeting with myself. And this was me deciding on how I want to handle my future. At that time, I would have been, probably I was 16 or 17. I would be like 16 years or 17 years at that time. And I decided within myself that I was going to finish what I started.
Wow.
That this architecture course, I will give it, because at that time I knew I had not given it my best. Because of my mental status. Like, I decided that I was going to give it my best. I will finish. That when I finish this course, I will now decide whether I want to go and do another course. Not that I will now abandon this to pursue something else. I don't know what is going to happen in the future. So, my life changed the moment I decided that I want to give it my best. Because that was the moment I stopped failing courses.
One of the things that you just made mention of is what I also think most of us miss, is the self-awareness. I think if you ask me, I think looking at your own journey, I think it was self-awareness, because I wanted to ask that, what could have brought about that moment where you spoke to yourself to say, what if this is not actually the way to go?
Yeah, so a lot of things contributed to my self-awareness. Mentally, I've been struggling with a lot of things. There was, a life of a young African child. Who do you want to talk to? Talking about what I'm telling you now about my struggle with architecture, there was really no one I could sit down with and discuss with. Like, I don't like struggling in courses. Like, if I give my best in architecture, in all these courses that they had come and draw, the best I will get is C. I mean, can you imagine scoring C? And I come from a family that, normal, you have to have 2-1, like, no, 2-1 is like the baseline. You have 2-1, like, that, and I'm like, how can I? And when you have a C, you can't have 2-1 now. The C is going to drag you down. And this is a course, this is the main course that you are running for. So it became demoralizing for me, and there was no one I could talk to. Now, I discovered that I had only myself. Of course, probably I did not have only myself then, but I actually did have only myself, because nobody really could have understood how I felt. It also happened again in 2004 when I wanted to go and do pre-degree. That was when before I started architecture, that I knew then that this is what I want to study. I knew then that I wanted to go into computer science or computer engineering, because I've been exposed to the computer since probably 5 years before then, and I knew there was something about this thing. I want to study it. But then I told my parents did not understand, because they thought everything about computer is about typesetting. photocopy.
Really?
Yeah. Yahoo wasn't even rampant. They didn't know much about Yahoo then. But it's more like typesetting. Probably you want to print out something, you want to, just typesetting.
Business center.
So yes, my dad shared it then. He said, you want to go and do, because I actually sat down with them and I told them, see, they have given all this form to Philo. Is this computer science I want to feel? And they said, you want to do computer science? I will use my money to send you to school to go and do computer science. If you know you want to go and do computer science, why don't we sign you up at all this computer business center to go and learn computer? Why must you go to university to do computer? So that was how the dream died, because they would not even allow me to. So back then, intellectually, in a way, I was far ahead than the people around me, because I knew I was more exposed to the digital world more than everybody else. So I knew where the direction that I wanted to go. So that also affected who am I going to talk to? How will they understand me? And the self-awareness came when I discovered that I can actually achieve some things by myself. I can do things and then let other people catch up. And that was exactly, most of the time, that is what I do, especially when people don't understand what I'm doing. I'll just go ahead and I'll be doing my thing. It happened again when I finished school. At the point when I began to face the architecture with everything that I have, I became even more than average student. Like, I did not graduate top of the class, but I was not also in the middle. I was actually like way above the middle.
Regular.
And to transform from a student that the kind of carryovers that I had, there was a time when I don't look at my GP, I don't look at my results. I would look at, okay, how many carryovers are remaining?
Wow.
You'll be having like 15 carryovers, 18 carryovers, like courses, different courses, not the unit. So one course like this, some of the courses I carried them like 3 times, 4 times.
Wow.
So I now became a student that, the lecturers will know that, Ayola, this is what you scored. I'll be engaging teachers in the class. So I became a better student. And by the time I finished, I discovered that I could be an architect, because I did another meeting with myself then that, okay, now you have graduated, you could be an architect, or you could be, and at that time also, I had become exposed to computer in a way that I know computer more than the people that study computer in the school. Because back then, I was helping the people that study computer in the school with their projects. So I knew, okay, I could do computer science really in practice, or I could do architecture. Which one do I want to do? So I did another meeting with myself at that time, and I decided, well, fine, I can do both, and I'm going to do both eventually. But I want to start with this computer. I'm going to invest in it and start a business in computer. And later on, when I make some money, maybe I'll use architecture to, I decided then that I don't want to struggle in the field of architecture. And struggle means that I'm going to have to be looking for work, projects. And then we'll be looking for projects, and you'll be, and then it was that would be limiting. I'm like, this one, I can struggle here. I can build products. Back then, I'll build products. I'll try to sell those products. So I discovered then I could do so. Back then, I had to face it on my own, because when going back home, my parents were like, because it is today that people said, why did you know that tech is going to be big? Because tech was not, when I finished, I'm talking about 2010, tech wasn't big. It was not, in fact, my parents and my folks, I'm talking about even my siblings, my elder siblings who ask, when are you going to go and get a real job? They do not understand what I was doing. They do not understand the things that I was trying to build and all that. Maybe even up to about 5 years, talking about maybe 2015, people say, why don't, what is this thing that you used to just sit down on the computer and be doing? So they didn't understand, and I had to, but at that time, I knew where I was going. I knew that, okay, there was something in this for me, and I was pursuing it. It is today that they will now say, some of my classmates said, what is burnt here now? Like, more as if I knew that, probably, because now people will say, maybe the tech field is more rosy in quotes than architecture. But my dad told me, we sent you to school for a very lucrative course. You abandoned the paper. You are now carrying a computer up and down. So back then, it seemed as if what I was doing was like, there's nothing there. That, probably you could have practiced this. So I grew up to understand that even as a younger person, I can be the more knowledgeable person. Meaning that in making decision, my decision on myself can be the best for myself. Like I can be right. Yeah. So I knew that. So it helped me to sit down with myself and then make decisions with myself. So I hope that answered the question.
Amazing. What a fantastic story. But one thing that also caught my attention while we started the conversation was that prayer, that you've always believed in prayer. In all of these seasons, can you help us? Can you shed more light to those moments where the only thing you could do was to pray?
There were pivotal points in my life where I knew prayer was like like when I turned to prayer, and the important thing that out there is how prayer helped, and how those moments make me believe even more in prayer. I could remember, and this is when I get to a pivotal point of my life, I make a decision whether I want to consider it as a point to pray or even say, this cup, I'm not going to allow it to pass over me. Like eventually, when I was going to have a semester extra in school, I had all these courses that I had carried. In fact, before I became serious, I already thought I was going to have like 2 years extra in school. But miraculously, all those courses, I just started acing them one after the other. And then I got off the final year. It was apparent that, wow, I'm not going to have an extra year again because I can do everything. And then all of a sudden, a lecturer gave me a carryover. And he gave me the carryover because I knew, okay, this is not my portion. Like one of the courses that I would, even when I was on serious, I would never fail. Then I got like 4/70 in the course.
Wow.
Apparently, the lecturer wanted me to do IT with him, that I should not travel home for IT. I did not. So I ran away. By the time I came back, it was only his course I failed. So I would have just be begging him, please, sir, this. I did not. And I did not even pray about it at that time. I just that at a point, I was supposed to have 2 years carryover. Is it one semester I will now be begging for? I beg, please, I will do it. So I became this is good. I like it. Whatever the opportunity is going to, and eventually, that gave me, because the semester I spent extra in school it became a big pillar in my Christian life. I used the period to move closer to God. I think the faith meeting, believers meetings, I enjoyed the opportunity he gave me. But to move to the point of a pivotal point in my life where I had to turn to prayer, I would talk about this time when I was younger, when my family and I had to turn to prayer. Things were really tough in the house, and it's not just me, my mom and my siblings. Things were really tough. Like there was no money coming in, and when your parent does not are struggling, the kids will know that these things are tough. So everyone knew, and then my mom called us and said, let's fast for 3 days and pray. And then we came together, we fasted, and you will not believe it. After the third day of fast, one day my dad just came and bought a wristwatch for everybody.
Wow.
He bought a wristwatch for everybody. He came just after the third day of fast, more like let's say that same day or the next day after. And then he bought a wristwatch, and then he narrated how one of his long-time clients came, and then they paid him one lump sum of money, and then everybody. It just came is this how these things work? Just pray, you pray like that. And then there was this time when somebody sent me some money, And this is really like just a prayer that I believe the Holy Spirit was trying to teach me something. Somebody sent me money. I was supposed to pick it up with MoneyGram, and then I went. It was my sister that sent the money, and at that time CBN just made a change that if you want to pick up money, you only pick it up in a bank where your account. You must have the account there, and I did not have account anywhere. All those MoneyGram places, I did not have any account there, and I just wanted to pick up that money. And I started going from bank to bank. People were telling me, you have to open accounts or we can't do it. And then I toyed. It was more like when Peter and the fisherman toyed all night. I toyed all day that day. I did not see anywhere I could pick up the money. And then the next day as I was walking, because I'm going to try again the next day. I mean, I walked all through the whole of Dugbe. Used my leg, walked to, I could not. And then the next day as I was walking out, the Holy Spirit just ministered to me. Why don't you just tell God about this? And then I said, God, please, just direct my steps today. Just a silent prayer. God, just direct my steps. And then as I got down from the maybe the cab, and then I walked the same place where I was walking around. I just lifted up my eyes and I saw one Spring Bank also that time. And I'm like, I have not entered this bank. The first place, and I entered that place. And the first person that saw me was a big bros in my area that we used to talk. They did not ask anything. What do you come for? I said, I give. They did not ask for ID. They did not ask for account. They did not ask for anything. They just gave me the money. And I'm like, God. I mean, a place that I told I did not see. Like, I will pass the place. I literally entered all the banks. Like, I'll go, but do you have MoneyGram? Some will say no. Some will say, I did not enter that bank. And it was a big bank with a big banner there. And I entered. So I knew immediately that this is God. This is God's work. And a lot of times when, usually I'm not the kind of person, I don't pray a lot about things happening with me. Maybe, God, help me, I want money. Or I usually don't pray those kind of prayer because I believe God has my best interest at heart, and there's a lot of things God is planning for me. And so sometimes I get to a point in my life where I feel like there's something I need and I don't have it. And I'll just tell God, God, please, this thing, I mean, what's happening? And then I would, usually my prayers are usually targeted towards for me to see better and make better decisions for myself, so that I can have my life. I just want to live a life where I don't have to be tossed here and there and be like, this is happening. So I want some clarity. So usually I ask God, and I've always been getting answers. God has been directing me. So that has been the when it comes to prayer. But there were moments. Usually, and I recall this time also when I was in my year 7, and I had my I was serving, and my PPA, they were giving me trouble. They would not sign my clearance. They said, they were just having all this trouble. And then they gave me a query. The man took me to the NYSC. They wrote query for me and said, you're going to repeat probably 3 months or 6 months or thereabout. And they wrote it for me, and then immediately they gave me that note. Okay, they have not give any verdict. They just said I should answer. But based on everything that they have written, there was no answer I could have given, because it is me against my employer. I just went straight to a restaurant. I ate the best meal.
Really?
Yes. I actually, moments like that, when it seemed as if all the worst has happened, I try to calm myself down, and I would do almost like the opposite of what you would do in that kind of situation. I trained myself like that. I just went to the restaurant. I bought I've never done, usually in Alawi you want to spend it wisely. That day,
you lavished it.
I lavished my Alawi that day, and I just told God, because they knew me then that this guy is always doing probably NCCF thing. I was dedicating my time to God. Of course, I was also doing my work, right? But they were giving me trouble because they were at some allowance. They were supposed to be giving me. We used to go to site, and when you go to site, we would travel to a place. They want me to be using my money to be doing that work, going out of state to do their work. And usually, the person that owned the site used to give them money on the site to give us.
Wow.
But those ones will spend the money.
Wow.
So I decided I was not going to go to the site again. So the manager there knew what was happening. He was supportive of me, but those other guys, they wanted to just. So I just told God, see, God, this is your fight. Oh. I'm not going to. I don't know how to handle it, but I know that you are going to help me, because the manager said one thing. He said, but you used to pray now. He said it, but you are a Christian. You used to pray. Why did all this wahala now enter? Why is all these things happening to you? So that is actually what So one of them feel alone. Like they want to, blame God. They want to use me to blame God or something like that. I just went to go and eat.
Wow.
I just went to go and eat, and then I went back. I did not tell anybody. And then the Spirit just told me then, don't reply to this letter. I should not reply. Okay. And I just recall that they gave me query. And I recall that they gave me query. The query they gave me, they don't have duplicate in their office. They just gave me the document. That it is the reply I give them that gives them the evidence, and then don't reply. So I just ignored. I kept the sheet. I kept it in my bag, and then I stopped going to work. And maybe after 1 month, that manager that liked me there had gone to beg their boss that, see, this person, he come from the West. He will go back now and say we are wicked people. Let's just allow him to be, doing his work and let's don't let us cause trouble. And he had went there on my behalf. He had begged, and they just said, okay, no problem. That I should not worry again. They'll be giving me clearance. So that was how the storm just calmed, and then I never had trouble over there again. So I've had moments like that, and I thank God that, God has been faithful. And that also brings us to a point of tune that today storms come, and then I'm like, okay. Is this? I mean, the storm that will shake me. I pray God don't let it come. But some people usually get surprised at the level of calm I possess.
I'm still surprised myself.
The level of calm I possess when things, and if I don't tell you what is going on, you will not know, and so that is how God has been helping me.
Amazing. First of all, again, appreciation for sharing your story. And the beautiful thing is that in your story, the lessons are inherent in itself. That thankfully you made mention of that, to say that this calm. And as I was hearing you also, I also sensed that there's just something about you that is just chill about the whole thing. Having going through a certain level of confrontation, and the only thing you want to do is to go and lavish some money and eat good food and enjoy yourself. And this thing you spoke about really also, and I'm grateful you also made mention of the school thingy, because I also feel that young people will be seeing this, and then someone out there will be doing one cause or the other, and then they won't be able to understand why they are going through the things they are going through. But I believe you've been able to find answers in these stories that are being told, these scenarios that are being painted. And it's my hope that we can also take from that the resolve that certain things won't always go our way. What then do we do? Do we panic, or do we just calm ourselves down to want to listen to what God is saying per time, to want to hear what God is saying? You also hear the perspective of prayer, having been rooted in prayer. That and the beautiful thing is that the foundation was laid. But even if you are on this journey, maybe perhaps you were not raised with a praying family, it doesn't matter. What doesn't matter is what you are going to do now. what you and I will begin to do now, to say, I want to begin to have this fellowship. If you also listen carefully from your story, one of the things I also picked up was how you were, how your relationship with God was. Because for some of us, it's that God is just this someone who is seated up there, but God can also be your friend, who is just right by your side. There's this song that says, by my side, but some would like to turn to say, by his side. I'm by his side because God will never leave. He has said he will never leave nor forsake you. And I think that's the word that I will leave with someone today. He has said he will never leave nor forsake you. So wherever you are right now, God has said he will never leave nor forsake you. Just be calm. Listen to what he's saying. Just from the story we've heard, be calm. Listen to what he's saying. What will he have you do in this time? Thankfully, this is the beginning of the year. We're still at the early period of the year. Listen, what will he have you do in this time to get back in line, to get back to that realignment? And it's my hope that you have been blessed. Again, this period is for us to share our stories. If you have something to share, if you have a question, do you know that we are here to listen to you with loving open arms, with the love of God, ready to receive you in any way possible. And once again, special thanks to Mr. Ayola for sharing your story again, for being brutal with your story. And I'm hoping that someone out there, especially if you're young, I hope you've been inspired. And that wraps it up for tonight's edition. Don't forget, Saturday we'll be having our first leadership meeting by 7 a.m. live right here. If you like to gain insight into leadership, we also want to call you on to join in. And Sunday we'll resume our regular service time, 8 a.m. for Real Success Seminar, where we are learning about operating system. Last year, you had an operating system that didn't help your life. Perhaps it's time to adopt or install a new operating system for your life this season. And also for our network service, we have Recalibrate. For some of us, it's that so many things have been going off. It's time to find our path again. And that's why we're also here talking about, is your life out of tune? So if you're like me, trying to find their rhythm, trying to get back on track, trust me, TBN is the place for you to be at this time. You can also follow us on social media. We are live on all our social media handles at the Bridge Network City Church. And I pray that God blesses you and enjoy the rest of your week.